Alright, hello Algebra 2 people, this is Mr. Hotard. This is going to be a lesson on how to solve system of nonlinear equations using our graphing calculator, using graphing. Now by nonlinear, I mean at least one of the equations is not going to be a straight line. So all we have to do to solve these, we're going to graph them on our calculator, both of them, graph both of them, and we're just going to find where the two graphs touch each other. So if you look at example 1, alright, if we go, well, first of all, go to y equals up at the top left-hand corner, clear out anything you have in there. Also, if you have any of these plots highlighted, turn them off. And then you're just going to type these in into y1 and y2. So remember the x button right here next to alpha, y equals x. And then the second y equals x squared minus 2. And normally you could just hit graph, but the first time I want to hit zoom 6 just to make sure I've reset my graph in case I've zoomed out or anything. So I'm looking for where this line touches this parabola. How many times does that happen? It happens twice. It's going to touch right here and right here. I need to figure out those points. Now you can kind of tell just looking at it. All right, it looks like it's about 2, 2, and maybe -1, -1. But just to make sure, the calculator can tell us those exact answers. If we hit second trace, this button right here next to graph, and we want to find where they intersect each other. So we're going to do the fifth one. You can hit the number 5, or you can just go down to 5 and hit enter. It's going to ask you first curve. It's got the little cursor on the blue line, hit enter. Then it says second curve, and it's on the parabola, hit enter again. And then it says guess, just hit enter one more time. You hit enter 3 times. And so there's one of my answers. Those two curves are touching each other at -1, -1. There's my first answer. Now that's not the only answer. It's also touching over here. So I'm going to have to do the same process again to get my other answer. If you hit second, trace, go to intersect, so you can just hit 5. Now, this time, don't hit enter yet. You need to, alright, it found that answer already. We need to move our cursor, just use your right arrow, move it closer to that point than that point. Doesn't have to be right on it, just as long as it's closer. So if you hit enter, and then hit enter a second time, and then hit enter a third time. Now it's going to intersect at 2, 2. That's the other point where they touch. 2, 2. These are my two solutions. All right, let me just draw a quick sketch of what we had here. So we had this parabola, we had this line. We're just finding these 2 points. That's where they touch. Now, second example. Let's go to y equals, clear out that other stuff, and type these in. I want to find the answer for 2x minus 3. And y equals x squared minus 2. So I could just hit the graph button now. All right, if you zoomed out or anything, you'd have to hit zoom 6 to reset it, but just finding this. Now, this one's a little different because this time, look at that. How many times does that line touch the parabola? It's looking like it only touches it once. All right, so this one's going to have just one answer, wherever that point is right there. It looks like it might be around 1, -1. Let's just make sure. So I'm going to show you something what happens when you do this one. If you hit second trace, we want the intersection. So if you hit 5, if I hit enter, and then enter again, and then enter one more time. This happens sometimes. You get an error. It doesn't mean we did anything wrong. Let me show you how to fix this. If you go back to your graph, we'll get out of there, second quit, and then go back to your graph. All right, if we do it again, second trace, 5, before you hit enter, if you get an error, just move that cursor a little bit closer to that point we're looking for. Just move it over to the right. Doesn't have to be right on it, but really close to it. Hit enter, and then hit enter again, and then hit enter a third time. Now it's given us the answer. Now, we're just going to round this off. So that's really x equals 1 and x equals negative, or y equals -1. So 1, -1. That's where they touch. All right. So if you're getting that error message, try just moving your cursor closer to the point. Usually that fixes it. And then last one, let's go to y equals and graph this last set of system of equations, 3x minus 9 and y equals x squared minus 2. And I'm just going to hit graph or zoom 6 if you need to reset it. Now, before you start doing second trace and finding the intersection, look at that. How many times does that line touch the parabola? It doesn't touch the parabola. What do you think that means? It means no solution, no real solution. All right, so I don't need to find where they touch. They don't touch. It's going to have no solution. All right, so these problems, when you have a parabola and a line, they could not touch at all and get no solution. They could touch once. They could touch twice. Do you think they could touch 3 times? No, it's never going to be more than twice. All right, so all these problems, they're going to have either no answer, 1 answer, or 2 answers. And that's it. All right, I hope that was helpful. This is Mr. Hotard signing out.